Welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella.
Well, with the longest running show interrupted by an extended brief, we're sort of the Hawaii Five-0 of sports talk shows. Anyway, the Celtics failed in the NBA Finals, but it's a step forward. We'll see how it goes in the future. But one thing we can say for sure is that Steph Curry has a solid claim about being one of the top 10 players of all time.
Yeah, he does. I was just thinking of that. If you go Russell, that era, and all the way through, probably not in the top 10, but, in that area, I would say from 10 to 20 greatest players ever.
But he's got 4 championships, and certainly even playing on a bad ankle, he was incredible during the finals. And he opens up so much space for teammates. That's one thing that the Celtics could use more space, because the Celtics ran into trouble trying to drive into traffic. But we'll get back to the Celtics. There's a lot to talk about. Daniel Snyder doing Daniel Snyder things. He refuses to testify before Congress about the toxic work environment surrounding the Washington Commanders. What else can you expect?
And the thing, too, is I don't know why he went along with changing the name to the Commanders, number one. I mean, I would think he would talk to the people that are, when you're talking about Redskins, talk to the Indians, the people that are involved in that, and ask them what they think, because they weren't upset about it. So why is he changing it? Because of the so-called people that worry about these situations? I just, right there was a wrong situation. And what do we really know about what's happening with that team anyway?
Well, during one recent book, Mike Lombardi of the Patriots staff said, we know 2 teams that will make mistakes at every possible turn. It'll be Washington and the Miami Dolphins. So the Patriots nobody worries about the Washington in the long run from a football standpoint. One of the great players in the history of women's basketball, Sue Bird, announced that she's retiring at the end of the season. She's been around for practically ever.
Now, was that their last home game the other night? Because, there were a lot of people were there. The fans went crazy when she hit that three-pointer at the end of the game, although the game was clinched. And she came out, and her mother was there. And I was wondering, because their record is only like 15-9. But what do they play, 28 games?
I don't know, but there'll be playoff games. They'll have to have a playoff game at home, I'm sure. She
hit that big three-pointer.
But there are a handful of women who've achieved her status, and just to be able to stay healthy for that long is a miracle.
5 gold medals, right?
Does she have that many?
5 gold medals.
And then the Bruins, it's never boring, but who'll be the next coach? We don't really know. There's a lot of talk about former BU coach Dave Quinn, a young guy, and Jay Leach, the former Providence coach. The concern is that the Bruins need to give their young players more opportunity to fail. I don't know how that's going to work out.
No, and the so-called Big Three didn't play well in the playoffs. So, they always get on the coach. They always get on Sweeney. But to me, he made a good move. Their defense was solid. Their offense was solid. They just lost a tough 7-game series.
Well, and you start out as a new coach, and you're not going to have Marchand because of double hip surgery. You're going to be missing McElroy, Grzelcyk, and Riley because of surgery. So you're pretty much guaranteed to be down near the bottom at the beginning of the season. So it's going to be a tough transition for the new coach, whomever it is. Meanwhile, hockey almost into July, the Avalanche, after an overtime win in the first game, overwhelmed Tampa Bay, winning 7-0, a total disaster. And Tampa says it's one game. We haven't lost anything yet.
Oh, with their history, they haven't.
But it's shocking how good Tampa Bay is to get hammered like that. This weekend, we saw the U.S. Open at the Country Club in Brookline. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't great, but it was a good close. It was very competitive. There hasn't been a playoff for a long time, and I thought there was going to be a playoff because you had 3 players coming down the stretch very close. But Matt Fitzpatrick made a great bunker shot on 18 to set himself up for a par and to win a mere $3.125 million.
And he was staying with the person that runs the Open.
Really? Well, not,
I guess he won as an amateur. He won it too, right? In 13.
I think they said he'd won it before.
Yeah,
so.
he won it as an amateur. The amateur.
Well, anyway,
at the same golf course.
And he had to hold off Scheffler, who he was 7 over par on some holes in the middle of the course in the final 2 days, but he's the number 1 ranked player in the world. And I felt bad for Zalatoris because it just seemed like he just couldn't quite get over the hump.
How many times has he been second?
A lot. I think he was second at the Masters,
he
too.
He was. Well, that putt was a tough one. He hit it well. I thought it was definitely going in.
To me, every putt's a tough one. But it's interesting to see that there was a lot of attention naturally for the U.S. Open, especially amidst the LIV Tour, which is the Saudi Arabian competition for the PGA. And I thought that they were going to ban LIV Tour signees from PGA events, but I think some of them were playing.
Well, they were playing because they already allowed them in, I guess. But I don't think they're going to be able to. They're going to be suspended, I believe, for the rest of the season.
And we're in the dead period for the Patriots. There's just no news, nothing happening before training camp opens. There's not a whole lot to say. Apparently, the one player that was really impressive during OTAs was Jack Jones, the cornerback. So
when did they get him? What round?
He's in the 4th round. Some people thought he was the best pick in the 4th round. Now, he's quick. He's got great ball skills. The issue was his off-the-field track record was not so great as far as fights and some other personal behavior.
Well, that's going to be huge with the Patriots because I think the Pats' offense has a chance to be really good, especially Jones in his 2nd year, the running backs. They have enough ends. They have the tight ends. Hopefully the offensive line, they have some good young offensive linemen. So I think the offense is could be really good. The defense fell apart last year at the end of the year. They were good during the middle of the season. So hopefully some of these younger guys come through because, they need to get quicker at linebacker.
Yeah, what was disappointing for a lot of people is that Isaiah Wynn didn't really show up for the OTAs, and it's supposedly a lot of this is contractually voluntary. But for a guy who the Patriots made a big monetary commitment to really give them, less than 100% effort is, I'm sure, something the coaching staff's very disappointed about.
Was he there for the mandatory 3 days?
Yeah, he comes for the mandatory stuff, but I think they shifted him over to the right tackle for that time because I think they're not happy. I wouldn't be surprised if they.
What are they doing with Brown?
Well, they moved Brown to the left tackle.
Oh, he's going to be a left tackle. Hopefully he's healthy all year.
Yeah.
That's going to be the key.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. The other concern that a lot of people have is who's the play caller? Do people trust Matt Patricia or Joe Judge to be assuming a role that they haven't done before? And although we were a lot of times not exactly crazy about McDaniel's play calling.
Right, and these people that are talking, the people on NBC Sports at night, they're knocking the Patriots. How do they know how good Judge is going to be? How do you know? Because he ran the ball, I guess, on 4th and 10, he ran the ball, so that means he's not a good coach. I mean, he could be a great offensive coordinator. That's the guy who I hope gets it.
Well, people picking the Patriots to finish last in the division, that seems like a tough call, considering that the Jets are the Jets.
They got a good offense now, though, but who knows?
Yeah, we'll see how the quarterback situation winds up there. We'll be right back.